Okay. All right, welcome everybody to Confessions of a GroupX Instructor podcast. Okay, this has been the hardest guest ever to pin down in my whole entire 22 episodes. I have been trying to get Nate Boozer on the show. And we have scheduled this podcast interview how many times, Nate?
5 or 6.
Yeah, we just
Would
keep
say.
we just have to
Yeah.
we just have to keep canceling on each other, basically because we live parallel lives, which I'm sure we'll talk to you all about. So I want to quickly introduce Nate. Nate lives in Eugene with me. I mean, he doesn't live with me. We don't like live in the same household, but he lives in Eugene. And I can't even remember, Nate, exactly where and when I met you. Do you remember meeting me for the first time?
I think we knew about each other for so long in the fitness
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
But I think the first time we met was like right at the start of the pandemic,
Okay.
going out of the DAC. So about
Right.
5 years ago. And I remember I commented on your nails. I was like, girl, and fabulous as always. So
It was love at first sight after you saw my nails.
yes, it was for sure.
That's right. That's right. You're right. You are someone whose reputation like precedes you, as any great leaders does. Like, I definitely knew who you were for years. I knew who you were. I'm sure I followed you on social media. And you're right. I used to see you. And I would kind of like get fan vibes like, oh, it's like Nate. You every once in a while we would like cross each other on the Sky Bridge. And I feel like we both like knew who each other were, but we hadn't actually been like, hey, let's be friends. Were you doing like
Exactly.
were you doing like Pilates? You were doing Pilates, right?
Yeah. A lot of Pilates, yeah. And dance, but also like I've been at the gym that we were working at for, oh gosh, 25 years. So I
Yeah.
kind of grew up there. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been
Yeah.
longer than me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're both still there.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Right. I mean, we ever leave, but it's yeah. Same thing with you though. I've heard about you for so long, and you have a great reputation, not only in this town, but far and beyond. And so it's an honor to sit down with you today and chat.
I'm literally so excited because you're someone I would love to like actually spend time with and hang out and have a conversation. And the fact that we get to do that on my podcast is like amazing. So then you're right. So then I think when I started getting involved with Lululemon, I don't know, we just kept our roles in this community. And then you ended up teaching for me at
Yeah.
the club. And so, okay, so then this is what I want to tell the audience. So then our worlds just started to collide more. I went to Nate's Star Cycle class, and we're going to get into like his story in fitness and Star Cycle and all those things here momentarily. But I went to your class and I kind of a little bit knew what to expect. Like, I've been to the boutique style cycle classes before.
Yeah.
But you blew me away. I just got to chill. Like, I was mesmerized by your control of the room and your control of the emotional experience that we went on from from before class started, from the way you worked the room and connected with the humans, every single person in the room. First of all, I couldn't even get in. You're like, you should sign up for my class right away because it like books out. And like, I'm like, it's only Tuesday and your class is Sunday. And you're like, yeah. And I try to get on and there's like a waiting list of 15. Anyway, finally get into his class and I can see why. And what?
Thank you.
Yes, no, I'm not even done. You're welcome. But it was like, I mean, the space was amazing. Obviously, Star Cycle is doing amazing things. So obviously inherent to that program, that's impressive by in and of itself. So that was part of it. But the big piece of it was you and just the confidence and the control of the experience. So the way you worked the lights, the way you modulated your voice was like so, that's something I work so hard on as an instructor is using that instrument like being loud, being soft, being, fierce, being animalistic, like doing all kinds of things with my voice. And you were like next level. Like every instructor needs to take your class. But then there was something you did at the end of class. And I later learned that you do it at the end of every single class you teach. It's something that you say at the end of every class.
Yeah.
And that one little thing that you say was so like, it wasn't contrived. It wasn't just some rhetoric that you always say. It was like it was from your very soul. And it told me volumes about you as a human being. Do you know what I'm talking about? You're like,
Yeah, my heart center ending to my class.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Um, yeah, I think it's important to include everyone in that last moment and acknowledge everyone where they're at and remind everyone why we're there, why we're here, why we're living, what we're living for, So thank you. Yeah, that means so much to me, especially coming from you.
Thank you.
So yeah.
So that's my introduction of you. I just think you're a superstar. I'm a fan, and I really like you show up very authentically online. And so I feel like the way you represent yourself on social media is very real. And so that gives me even a greater sense of you. But will you introduce yourself? I mean, you can say anything, where you're from, just tell my audience who doesn't know you about who you are.
Yeah, my name is Nate. If you've known me a long time, you call me Nathan. And that's how I know if someone knows me. If they call me Nathan, I'm like, oh shit, who are they? So, but I have been in the fitness world for, gosh, 20 years now. I started dancing when I was just a teenager, got really into dance. That's what I went to college for, what I went to school for, and started dancing in dance companies. Dance is my heart. It's my soul, my passion. Movement is my passion. And then I remember dancing for the college that I was going to. They had a dance team that was part of that college, and it was called the Foundation. And I was dancing and looking around one day at the theater, and I was like, I could do this. I think I could do this. And so that's when I started my own dance company, and I did that for 15 years. We had
Yeah, I want
uh,
to hear more about that. This is Work Dance Company?
yes, work dance company.
Wait,
And
pause. Let's go back to that. So you were like, from an operations standpoint, you're like, I could do this, I could run this, I could
yeah,
own a company.
yeah.
There you go. Okay, I want to hear.
I was looking at how they're doing the lights, and I was like, I think I would like to do this instead. And, like, I just got really into it. So I started like taking classes for lighting and sound so that I would know not only the dance side of it, but the production side of it. Cause I'll be honest, I like to create art. And part of that is how you represent it, how you present it, all the things, right? And so I dove into that and created Work Dance Company. I started with 4 dancers, and we did the dance circuit. And then I had a lot more dancers than that. I averaged about 20 dancers each season. And we got so many awesome opportunities to dance with celebrities, big festivals, big events. We did the Holt Center here in Eugene 15 times, sold it out 15 times, which is an honor. And we got to raise so much money for a lot of organizations within our community, which was something that I wanted to do from day one, was to be able to give back to our community with our art. And so every show, we would always have a donation little drive that we would do. We'd have all the dancers go out and collect money to not only provide for whatever organization it was, but I also sponsored a couple dancers each year and gave them a full ride with that. So I loved it. It was so awesome. And I've taken a little time away from that because I took a job on about 5 years ago and my position has grown there, and it's a lot, but I just got spread a little bit too thin. And, pandemic probs with doing dance shows and stuff, everything's changed so much and it's great. We're still thriving in the dance community, but I needed a minute and to, pay attention to my big kid job, which is working for Star Cycle, which I love so much.
I definitely want to talk so much about Star Cycle, but I'm really amazed at your entrepreneurial spirit and the fact that you took that on. How did you recruit? Did people just was it hard to recruit? Or was it like people just wanted to be part of your dance company?
No, at the beginning, it was really hard because I left dance companies and that professional company I was dancing for. And there was a little bit of animosity, maybe a little bit, and like, can he do this by himself, which is understandable. I get it. But I had to work. I was pounding the pavement, going around, putting up audition posters and all that kind of stuff. But after the first show, we kind of claimed our spot in the community, and then people wanted to join. And I think a big thing that was big within our dance company was freedom of expression. I think with dance, it can become really mechanical. It can come with a lot of politics with parents and different communities. And with my dance company, I just wanted to make sure that I gave people a platform to express themselves the way they wanted to and feel free to escape from the craziness of the outside world and to be able to be their authentic self, or a portion of them that they maybe never knew that they had inside of them. So
that's so
yeah, it was a lot of work at first. Not a lot of work at first. It was a lot of work for 15 years. Right, let's be real.
Yeah.
But
the work it morphed and changed. At first the work was establishing yourself, and then the work changed. I didn't even tell our listeners what we're going to be talking about today, but we are going to be talking about mental health and safe spaces. So I love that I'm already hearing in your story already, just like that was already happening then in this creation. And also, I just wanted to say that when I see you, I do like, even in the way you do your hair and clothes that you wear and photography that you have shown, you are someone who is inspirational in that area also. Like you aren't afraid to look different and to stand out and to, I don't know, like you're very dramatic. And I like
no
that.
way.
You're very dramatic in your look and in everything. And also, I was gonna say that I didn't know that you, like, leaving the dance company and starting your own, that you experienced some, like, maybe people questioning, like, do you have what it takes? Like, I didn't know that about you, but I relate to that. Like, I feel like um when I was with my former company and it closed and I decided to create my own formats, it was the same I felt like there was this like, who are you? Like, who do you think who do you think you are?
Uh,
And so, you know, you have to just like silence those the naysayers and the haters or the people that doubt, and just like wrap your arms around the part of you that believes in yourself. And, you know, I didn't.
1000%. You have to stay authentic to you through it all. You can't let the noise in too much, or it will drown out who you are, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about Star Cycle. And this is going to lead into the fact that we could never schedule this episode because we live parallel lifestyles, and Nate's in an airplane and probably as much as I am. Okay.
No, no, definitely not. You're always in an airplane, my love. Going some pretty cool places. Yeah, Star Cycle. I started writing at Star Cycle almost 7 years ago. And
When it start, yeah, wait. So what, like, were you right when it opened? When did it open here?
Star Cycle opened in the spring of 2013. So 11 years ago.
Okay, so you didn't start right away there.
No, so I was just a client and they weren't even in Eugene. One of my good friends who lives in Portland was like, you have to come take this class. Because I took a cycle class in Eugene and I wasn't the biggest fan, but like it also wasn't beat driven, and I'm really beat driven, like as a dancer, like that's my jam. So she took me to this class. I fell in love and I drove up there probably 4 times a month and would take this class.
Oh.
And then they were like, we're opening one in Eugene.
Wait, time out. Time out. People need to know that's like a 4-hour round trip.
Yeah.
Like, just so you know, Eugene to Portland, he would drive 2 hours to take a class. Okay.
A 45-minute class, right? That's how good it was. And then when they opened in Eugene, it was just my escape from my world, you know, to pop in and take these classes. They're in the dark, candlelit, beat driven, super inclusive, and for anybody. And it was just everything I wanted and more. And then like probably about a month or two in from Eugene's location opening up, they're like, would you maybe want to teach? And I was like, no. This is my like happy place. It's like my escape.
Right. Got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took like a couple months and I was working an office job and I left that job. And my last day there, I was feeling emotional. So I went and wrote at Star, and the owner came up to me and was like, are you sure you wouldn't teach? And I was like, well, I have this free time up and I didn't really give myself a backup when I left the other place. So I was like, I could teach. And that's kind of what started it. I was working the desk, childcare, and then got trained to be an instructor. And it continued to grow and evolve from there. About a year and a half after that, I became a master trainer for Star Cycle and started running 3-day intensive trainings for them. And then about a year after that, less than a year, I became their director of training. So I just run their training department at Star Corporate, and it's such a rewarding job to be able to work with humans and help them gain their confidence to be an instructor. It's kind of the same thing when I was talking a little bit ago about dance, right? Helping people find themselves and their purpose and ignite passion within them that they might have never knew they had inside, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of the things we learn through the training process and just through the whole process at Star are things we can apply out in the real world, outside of the fitness world. And what an honor to be able to help people find that, you know, and find their confidence. And yeah, it's been a super rewarding job. So
as an aside, not related to our topic today, it's also
Yeah,
like a testament to the fact that like I think a lot of fitness instructors, which is our primary audience here for the most part, I think a lot of them think like I could never like make real money or have a real job in fitness, but you're like a perfect example. There's so many examples out there. I'm an example of like you can in fitness pay the rent. You know, there's opportunity and like just in that those quick amount of years from you going like, no, I'm not going to teach to the head of education, like in those few like years, like, so it's really cool. Like you never would have guessed, obviously, when you were saying, no, I'm not going to teach, you never would have guessed you'd have this job that you have now. So, okay. So so are you now in, so tell me more about your title and role with head of education. I guess I didn't really realize you were.
yeah. So I'm the director of training. So I run all of our 3-day intensive trainings, which
Okay.
are once a month at our headquarters in Lake Oswego,
In Lake
Oregon.
Oswego, oh, Portland. Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that's where we started. That's where it all began.
oh my God,
Yeah.
the West Coast business.
Yes.
Oh,
Representing
how far does it go across the country?
Chesapeake, Virginia, all the way, other ocean.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
We have 15 locations. We're growing, thriving. We have a lot in Oregon. But I also get to travel sometimes and bounce around to our locations and train their teams on location, which is super fun.
So your 3-day intensive involves taking all of the instructors in that studio, like taking them through certification.
Yeah, so they learn everything that they need to execute a ride properly. We go through not only the full format of our ride, we go over body and form cueing, how to address the class, inclusivity, right? We talk not only about mental health, but we talk about body dysmorphia, body disorders, all those kind of things, right? Eating disorders. We want the instructors to feel fully educated and prepared for what can come their way, because in the fitness world, it's a sensitive area for a lot of people. A lot of people are scared of it, or intimidated by it. And how can you as an instructor, as a leader, as a teacher, make your clients, your community feel lifted up and supported? So we talk about so much at training, and our main goal is to help these humans that want to help other people thrive within their job and bring what Star wants, which is passion, power, presence, personality, right?
Yeah. Uh,
So
you just took me back to that ride I took with you on a Sunday. I just remember like even the dark lighting made me feel safe. Like I it was super sexy in there. Like it was dark, but there was this like purple glow. So you could see like sweaty deltoids across the room and like bodies in
yes.
motion. And like you were doing things with the candlelight. I feel like the last like moment of class like was this interval and like as the beat dropped you like turned the candles off and it was just like oh anyway but speaking of like safe spaces and mental health, which you've already intonated a couple times at, this is the heart of our episode and the value we want to bring. And I love it because it's a topic this is new topic completely for the show. And so basically, I would love to hear like why mental health is so important to you and creating safe spaces. And then I also know that you're going to give us some tips on how we can be better as fitness professionals about creating safe spaces. But like, why is that so near and dear to your heart? Why, when I reached out to you about podcasting, were you like, this is what I want to talk about?
I think my biggest reason is because it's something that I struggle with. And I think often as instructors, or what we preach in class, I think we have to be authentic, right? It has to be organic. And so we need to talk about things that resonate with us, right? And that's how we can speak truth a little bit more than reading a Google quote or a Hallmark card and thinking it's going to pass as something deep. And so for me, mental health has been a struggle for me my entire life. I grew up a gay, redhead, bowl cut, freckled face kid, and I was bullied and made fun of a ton growing up. And it took a big number on my mental health. I went to a Catholic high school, and I don't need to say more. It was horrible. And dance, fitness was my escape always. I was that kid in the middle of the field dancing with my Discman. I know that ages me, whatever, but I was out there jamming out, and I was unapologetically me, always, from a little kid. And that still happens now with my mohawk and how I dress or whatever, and I think that's super important to always be unapologetically you, respectfully. But as I grew up, the mental health got harder to deal with. And our feelings, the older we get, really come to the surface. And I had some scary moments in my life where I didn't know if I'd be here today. And that's real. That's real talk right there. And so I had a moment where I went through something. I almost didn't make it. But when I woke up in an intensive care unit, on all these things, all these cords, a breathing tube, when I woke up, I realized I was supposed to be here. Like, they would have taken me away if I wasn't, right?
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I promised myself, through a lot of therapy also helped me realize this, but that I am going to help educate people. I'm going to help people that feel like they don't have anything left in them and that they're not worthy or deserving. I want them to feel included, that they're enough, and to be reminded that as many times as I can in the smallest amount of time that we have in a fitness class or a dance class or a conversation, right? So that was something I made a promise to myself and dedicated myself to, was to educate people, to talk about the uncomfortable, to bring it to the surface, being uncomfortable until we're comfortable with it. There's this stigma around mental health that it makes you weak, that it makes you less than. And to be honest, I think the more we talk about it, it shows how normal you are actually, because we all deal with some form of mental health issue. Every human being does, no matter what it is. If it's you compare yourself to someone and it brings you down, or it's depression, manic depression, bipolar. So I made this promise to myself that I was going to not only help educate, but be there for those that need it.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of take the power out of it, like the power out of the stigma, just because you are such like a esteemed, competent leader and fitness leader. It's like, oh, if you struggle with mental health, like, oh, maybe it's okay for me to admit it to myself, to others, that, you know, and like you never, somehow you can really talk vulnerably, and it never ever comes across as like attention seeking, just truth. just empowerment, hope, like light. And um, I don't know. It's really amazing.
Thank
So
you.
how, so it's interesting too, because I I'm grateful that you're talking about this because I feel in some ways somewhat sheltered because yes, I struggle. I think there's a spectrum. Like I have had some mental health issues, but I think there's a spectrum of, and I feel protected in so many respects. But so it's good for like my awareness, for our awareness as instructors, for those of us that maybe struggle less on the spectrum of mental health. So it's interesting for me to hear that like it's gotten harder as an adult because I would imagine that redhead, gay, standing out, middle school, high school, like that would be the worst. But
Mhm.
you're like, no, it's still hard.
It for sure is. I think because life sets in, right? There's love and heartbreak and stress of the world and finance, like all these things come in, adulting, right? That affect our mental health in so many ways.
Mhm.
Comparing ourselves to one another, especially in the fitness world, there's
Oh,
so much of that, right? There's this cookie cutter of what you need to look like that's not realistic, right?
yeah.
I mean, let's be real, and we're getting better with it, but um it's hard. Yeah, I think the older we get, there's more we have to deal with loss, you know. When you're young, like everyone in your family for the most part is young and hopefully healthy. I mean, obviously there's people that lose people all the time, but yeah, a lot comes into to place when we get older and more mature, and it can be a lot.
Yeah, and you're like you say, just adulting. Sometimes like
Yeah.
I have felt like absolutely paralyzed to the point of like I don't I could see myself not getting unstuck, you know, because of life, because of like the pressures of
Mhm.
of life and yeah, loss, divorce, like death,
All
illness,
of it.
all of it. So comparisons in fitness, like you said, and like social media, and
I
yeah,
mean, thank God there wasn't social media when I was in grade school. I think it would have been that much more worse, to be honest. Yeah. So I am so thankful for that silver linings, right? Of like what wasn't around at that point of my life that probably would have contributed to the things I was having challenges with
right,
even more.
right.
Yeah.
So what are your tips for us as instructors? Like, how do we create safe spaces in our classrooms? Are there things we do, don't do, say, don't say? Like, what are your
Yeah. I think meeting people where they're at,
Mhm.
right? And when you want to have genuine client connection, have that connection, like fully open it up, right? Especially in like fitness places, there's usually like a desk or something. There's this barrier between you and the human being, right? Or we cross our arms. There's a lot of things. Open your body up, come in front of the desk and meet them person to person, face to face, right? And listen to what they're telling you and receive it. And then those are little things that you can apply within your class, right? Even down to if someone comes in and they're like, I got both my knees replaced. I'm terrified, but my doctor says I need to work out. I need to get on a bike and work out. I'm going to say to them, our class is pretty intense, but just showing up is doing it. The rest is extra credit, right?
Oh, that's
And
so good.
just right there, they're like, yeah,
Oh,
right?
that's
Letting people know that you're so excited that they're there, that they showed up for not you, but for themselves, right? And acknowledging just showing up. I think that's something that we don't do enough. We acknowledge the end of a big workout, but what about at the beginning? You all showed up, like give yourselves a hand, right? And then also catering to people and what they're going through in their lives. I think you probably know this more than most. Like people are going to share all the things that they went through in your classes, how your classes changed their lives, how they affected their lives, right? You're going to hear some powerful stuff. And sometimes it's hard to receive. It's a lot, right? And um receive it the best that you can. And that's your reward, right? Their reward is what you give them during class.
Yeah.
Your reward is when they tell you how they changed, how that class changed their life, their day, their hour, whatever.
Mhm.
But it's our responsibility in that moment in class to help change their life. And that's by being inclusive, supportive, acknowledging where they're at, helping them push their limits, but not taking to them to the point of pain, of feeling defeated or discouraged, right? Providing modifications within your class. I think that's something that a lot of places do not do. And one thing that I love about your videos, by the way, is you always have someone like giving a modification. And right, you're meeting them where they're at. And they know they've got other places they can go, but maybe this is where I'm at. And thank you for celebrating that. Right. I think losing things like talking about fitness as like working off your meals or, you know, your holiday cookie, like that drives me nuts. Or like the New Year's resolution, like a new you. Why don't you celebrate you? Right?
Yes,
You're
saw
great how
you.
you are,
Yes,
right? And
yes,
so, like, I like to say at training, like, we eat the cookie at Star Cycle, right? It's
yes,
okay to have a cookie. It's all
yes.
good,
We eat
right?
cookie. Yes.
Everything in moderation, including moderation. So I I think it's really important to meet the client where they're at, to celebrate where they're at, find ways to challenge them, to almost manipulate the workout for them thinking that they're just where they think they need to be, but then slowly pushing them a little bit beyond that is a great way of doing it. Um, I think as fitness instructors, we need to not talk about our bodies down negatively, even if we feel that, um, because these people look up to you and the things that you say, they take so seriously and to heart. And if you're talking bad about yourself and you may be even way more fit than they are, how do you think they're going to feel? Right. So you got to really read the room when you're speaking and when you're talking. And it's thinking about what you say and not being stuck in an old school way of how we handle or teach fitness. We need to continue to evolve. We need to educate ourselves. We need to educate our class. We need to continue to find ways to bring in more community within our whatever workout that you do. I think community is so important, and being inclusive and diverse, like all of those things are so important in the fitness community. And I feel like there's not enough of that in so many ways. So we need to work harder and better at meeting the client where they're at today and celebrating them.
I remember and I started when I introduced you today, I actually mentioned how I said from the second you started teaching, and then I was like, no, 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 it was actually before you started class that I was impressed. Remember I said that like when we started? And to be specific, like you literally, I watched you. Like I watched you. I don't always have the opportunity to take another instructor's class, unfortunately. Like, but I wanted to learn from you. I wanted to soak in your expertise And that was like something I was so impressed with, is like, I felt like I watched you make an authentic, real connection, not just hi, but like a real connection with every single person in that packed room. Like you didn't just stand in the front of the room, you didn't have your back turned to them, like you spoke, you made everyone feel noticed. And I like what you said about like we need to listen. And when you said that, I like did a little check on myself, because and I'm like I need to check myself on this, because sometimes I think we those of us who are like, I don't know, like we've how do I say this, like I think it's easy to get puffed up on pride. Like people
Yeah.
love us, and we have a name for ourselves, and we've done big things in fitness. And so it's really like easy to walk into a room when people are so excited to see you, and for it to like your ego to flare, and to be like, it's the me show. Like everyone wants to hear from me about me, and they want to know about, and just like when you said that, I was like, when you were talking about opening your body and opening your posture and removing barriers, and I was just thinking, also just like stop, like just make it about them. Like I hope I'm doing that. And I think I am, but like this is a really good reminder to me, like do better, do more of that. Turn it around. It is for them. Like it is for them. So
Yeah.
and I feel like it takes a tremendous amount of humility, like shedding our ego, just humility, and like reading the room, self-awareness, and like we really are there for them, not us. That is why we're there. That's why we're in this. That's what we're doing, is trying to change lives, you know? The byproduct is it changes ours too, but
Sure, right? And to keep people healthy, longevity, right? We want to have a long, prosperous life. We've got to take care of our bodies. That's part of mental health. That's part of self-love, is taking care of our bodies, right?
I think you and I, for like living like these parallel lives, it's funny how much we have like in common uh regarding things that we care about in the industry, because I'm very similar. I mean, I do come from eating disordered background, so that's also mental health and obsessive compulsive behavior. And
Yeah.
but um I'm very also very passionate about people being uniquely themselves. And I've worked in a company where like you're looking at my hair right now. I mean, look at my hair.
I
So
mean, I'm loving it.
it's
It's
crazy. Like it's crazy. Like it's not even curly, but it's not wavy. And I worked at a company where they weren't okay with my hair not looking perfect. But like, how can I make this hair look perfect? It does what it wants to do. Like it's gonna do something tomorrow that it's never done before, and it did something yesterday. Like I couldn't have hair in my face. I had to have everything. Like, how do I have tame hair? And like, I just I think that's why I tattooed my whole body head to toe and do my nails and wear the crazy sometimes outfits, is like I want to be different, and I want to stand out, and I I want to be I don't want to be like everyone else in the world. I want to be like uniquely me, and I want to inspire others to be uniquely them. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to you, is I'm like that. He does that too. He is like that too. And then like again, maybe because like, my eating disorder, that is like that is a mental health issue. It really is. I just wasn't really framing it like that until like this moment. But I really feel like that's why I am very passionate about showing all different kinds of bodies, and yes, giving all different types of options. And like also one of the things I teach my instructors is to just be like, maybe we add the gear. Maybe we come out of the saddle. Everything. I love how you said everything else is extra credit. Like it's extra credit. Like, you know, maybe we bring it to the knees on this push up. And
Yeah.
yes, it's adherence. It's it's the long haul, what you just said, it's for longevity and for life. And that's what eat the cookie means to me, because restrictive and self you know, criticism and that kind of mindset, no one's successful with the whole perfectionism and what's the word I'm looking for? Like being restrictive and thinking exercise is, you know, it becomes then a something that
Punishment.
you know,
I
but
think people take fitness and punish themselves with it. They're like, I had that cookie. Now I have to go put myself through torture for the next 5 days. And I can't have anything else to eat, right? So we do a lot of things to ourselves that aren't good.
I think another thing is like if someone loses, if I notice that someone's lost a lot of weight, I don't I don't comment about it. I don't say like, "Wow, you look great," because I don't know what they're going through. Maybe they lost weight because they're like not because they're depressed or like or maybe they lost weight because they're struggling with an eating disorder. Like it doesn't equate to health, you know? And so I think that's something we need to be careful of too as fitness professionals when we see people that have lost weight. I would caution us as fit pros to like don't just assume, don't pay the compliment like you look great, you lost weight.
Yeah, for sure. I think that just weight in general is talked about way too much in the fitness world, right? And being thicker does not mean that you're unfit,
Nope.
right? We have all different body types, all different shapes and sizes, and everyone deserves to be celebrated on their fitness journey where they're at.
100%. And being thin does not mean you're healthy. Like
Exactly, right? Yeah,
doesn't
same thing.
mean, but you're
Yeah,
right. I do think the industry's gotten better, like you said, and I do think there's room still to improve. Like, yes, kudos, we are moving in the right direction, you know. Did you say, what'd you say slowly?
I slowly, yes. I
Um,
also think it's how we address the room, right? It's really easy to say, like for me, like in my world with spin, when I watch instructors say, give me a full turn, or I want you to do this. Wait a minute. I'm showing up for me, and I thought you were celebrating me where I'm at.
yep.
This is for me. So instead, addressing the class with you and your, right?
Yes.
Reach down and out on a turn to your resistance
I
now.
literally say that. I say that. I say that in my trainings is I say,
Yeah,
like, lift that chest, drop that butt. Like, no, lift your, and you, I love your example even more about like, give me a gear. No, it's not about the instructor.
yeah, yeah. And those same things, those and that, like reach that arm. No, reach your arm,
Yes,
right? So
I
I
say
love that
the
you do
same
that.
thing.
Yeah, it's important, and it's little things that we don't think
Yes.
about when we're teaching.
It's the subtleties. Yes, it's the subtleties. And it's so funny that you teach that. I literally teach the same like rhetoric, like say our, let's, our, your. Ugh. And it is the nuance. It is these little tiny subtleties. And we talk about videotaping our classes so that we can see form and stuff. But another good like tip is to videotape yourself to see and then watch yourself back like you don't know you. Try to be as objective as possible about how like you said, Nate, earlier, you said something about like just filter what you say through the ears and eyes of other people. Like we sometimes don't do that well enough as fitness professionals. I remember an example of I saw someone post online, someone who is married, um, and how do I think if I should like filter my words a little bit here? Hold on, filter. Um, they were complaining about being a single mom, like being how hard, like they were complaining about being a single mom. Here's the thing: they're not a single mom. They're married. They're married and have an affluent situation going on, upper class family. Husband was gone, and so I read that post like it's a fitness professional that wrote it. And I read it as like, oh, if I was a single mom and I read that about someone who has the support of a husband and that provides for the family, and like, how would I feel about, you know what I mean? Like, filter everything you post online, everything that comes out of your mouth as, how is this going to be perceived by someone else? What are other scenarios that people could be going through? You know, same thing about like, I've harped on this way too many times, but just even any kind of complaint about your day, like we have no idea what people are experiencing in their world. So just like stripping all of that away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's in, yeah, there's so much fear, trauma that people have experienced and they're coming to your classes. And so it's even like when we're giving body corrections, a lot of, fitness classes I've taken, somewhere will come up to me and fix something on my body and they'll grab me and like pull my hips back or do something, and always asking permission, may I touch your body? Because there's a lot of trauma just in that world of abuse, and we have to be mindful of things like that and where they're at. Like, I'm a pretty raw instructor, like my voice can get intense, and um I feel pretty good about commanding the room, but I have to remind myself that some people can be triggered by too much yelling and intense vocals. So I have to take my vocal inflection back a little bit and marry it with some more calm and comforting vocals with it, right? It's kind of an art to our vocals, just how we speak to the class.
And like, I love showering people with attention, but not everyone likes that
For
either.
real.
So
Yeah.
it's just like, some people are like they don't want to be called out. And some people are like, yes, say my name out loud on the mic during class, do it every time. I love it, you know? But you have to know the difference, read the difference between that person and the one that's like, please don't call attention to me. I want to hide. And, giving them that safe space to hide.
I'm not human.
You
I
are?
don't want to be called
Shut
out
up.
in class.
Shut
No,
up. Are you
I
kidding me?
am like the full like
Nuh-uh.
sunglasses, baseball cap. I'm in here.
No
And
way.
I mean, that's why I fell in love with stars, because the lights are out, right? And no one can see me or anything. Yeah.
Oh
It's
my God, not me. I'm like, talk about me. I want all the attention. Oh my God, that surprises me about you.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, you never know, right? It's a good example of us never knowing where someone's at. So just creating a space just in general, meeting people where they're at, helping them feel supported, talking to them in a way that's inclusive and respectful, and while motivating them. There's so many things,
Oh my
right?
gosh. No, it's true. It's, we are, we and the listeners, like we as instructors, it's rocket science what we do. There's so many, it's, it's doing this job, this thing we do, teaching a class here, teaching a class there. It involves so many layers and levels. And, these are the things that matter the most. Oh, we were talking about subtleties and nuance. It really, and videotaping yourself and watching yourself back and like trying to read, how would you perceive yourself if you weren't you? And I think sometime actually used to do this, like as a newer instructor. I think that just maybe felt insecure. And so I would compensate for that because I was really smart and I knew a lot and I knew big words. I fancy myself a doctor, okay? I fancy myself like a doctor. Like, I think I would come up, I would like to like posture myself as the big expert that, and use big words and and as I've become confident and shed some of that, I've realized like I just need to be on their level. I don't need to like, I'm not, because it can sound, what I was getting at is condescending. It can sound condescending if you know, you know what I mean? If you talk to your class in like, don't do this, don't do that, don't. So I don't know, there's subtleties, the subtleties, but yeah, the safe space. Safe space.
Important.
Tell
Yeah.
us about, before you go into your confession, what is that thing that you say at the end of your classes?
Well, I do mix it up.
Yeah, you do. Okay, it's not always the same.
You know, but my favorite one is probably positivity, passion, perseverance, pride, and most of all, equality is probably my biggest one. I also like to say, you are beautiful, you are strong, you are enough, you're original, one of a fucking kind, and you're worth it. So I preach a lot of self-love in my classes, and I always want to kind of bring it back to that. Again, talking about things that resonate with us, and that's been a hard one for me in my life growing up. Accepting myself and all the things that come with life. But I tell my class so often, I don't care how many rings you closed on your Apple Watch or whatever watch you wear. I don't care how many calories you burned. But if you leave class today loving you, not the person you think you need to be, the unrealistic expectations that you try to hold yourself to, but if you can love the human looking back at you today a little bit more, mission accomplished, right? Like that's what it's about. Because when we prove to ourselves how strong we are and how much we are worth, then that radiates out into everything else that we do in life. Getting that job that you wanted so bad, walking into it with confidence, like, not only do I got this, but I deserve this, right? Everything. When you're in an argument and someone's mistreating you, saying, nope, this isn't okay. I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm going to not let someone treat me this way. So, but it starts here, right? We have to love ourselves before we can love one another, like RuPaul said. So it's important. Yeah. That's my biggest thing at the end of class is just self-love.
I love it so much. So
Self-acceptance.
yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So what's your confession? You said it's wait, you said it's not funny?
Well, okay, so as we've been talking, I've been like kind of thinking about it. So I have a couple. Can I do a
You do
couple?
too? Okay.
Yeah. My first one is that I have all of the Spice Girl dolls still in their boxes, packed away, immaculate, beautiful, perfect condition. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So that's so random. And then
Love this.
also, I am actually an introvert, like in an extrovert world. So when I'm not on the podium or teaching or dancing or speaking, I like to be away from it all. I like to be in nature. I like to be alone a lot. I feel like we're the most ourselves when we're alone. You don't have to act a certain way because you're with a certain person or feel like you need to edit what you say that might feel like it comes out stupid or whatever, or whatever people think. You are authentically you. And I love my moments of stillness and silence and my moments with Mother Nature and just seeing life live out in the wilderness is like everything. It's my therapy, it's my everything. But yeah, I'm like the at home with my pugs, away from the world.
That is surprising, but you also said you're the one that doesn't like attention during class, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. And I think that I think our profession does actually attract introverts that put on a whole different persona when they take the stage and have to recharge. Do you listen to music when you drive home? I thought you were gonna say that. He says no, if you're not watching on YouTube. He says
Silence.
silent. I like
Yeah,
silence or like classical. I like
totally.
classical.
Right.
Um, okay, so speaking of, because I know you have somewhere to be. I know you have somewhere to be right now. Speaking
I've got
of
time.
your pugs, okay, so
Yeah.
we will close by, I want people to know how they can find you and follow you because you're worth following. You have a lot to say, and you will see a lot of his like 5 pugs that are like his children. So you will see a lot of the dance and all of it, the star cycle and the pugs. So where can people follow you?
Yeah. I am at Nate Boozer, N and then the number 8. Boozer. I'm also on Facebook. I don't have a ton of social media. So I don't have like Twitter or TikTok or anything like that. I just have Instagram and Facebook, everything in moderation, right?
Even
And you can also catch me on the bike at a Star Cycle near you. I'm always bouncing around to all the locations, and I would love to ride with you.
oh, people, take him up on that. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much. I am so grateful to just know you. I am grateful for your friendship, and you inspire me to be a better instructor.
Likewise, the feeling is so mutual. And thank you for using your platform to help educate people in so many different ways. It's so important. And let's all work hard and do better to be the best humans we can be. So,
Right. All
yeah.
right. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Nate.
Yeah. Thank you. Mwah.
Mwah.